Hello, my dear students. In this video, we are going to do test and evaluation of Act 1, Scene 2 for Class 9 as ICSE. First question is, in what way did Cassius mistake Brutus' feelings? How was the misunderstanding cleared by Brutus? Answer is, according to Cassius, he had not received that gentleness and expression from the eyes of Brutus that he used to receive. Brutus had become too strict and too strange a person to him. Thus, Cassius mistook Brutus' feelings. Brutus explained. Okay, second sub part of the question is how was the misunderstanding cleared by Brutus? So here we will change the paragraph and write down. Brutus explained that he had kept his troubled feelings inside him. He was worried with the conflicting emotions, which perhaps was affecting his conduct, means his behavior. Due to these conflicting thoughts, he was not able to show his love to his friends, and Cassius was one of them. Next question is, what was the consequence of this misunderstanding on Cassius? Cassius misunderstood the expression of Brutus, and because of that, he had kept hidden some important thoughts of great value in his heart. Okay, he wanted to tell Brutus something, but he didn't, क्योंकि उसे लग रहा था कि वो पहले जैसा बिहेव उसके साथ नहीं कर रहा. Now, third question is, give the meaning of for the eye sees not itself but by reflection by some other things. Answer, Cassius questioned Brutus if he could see his own face. In reply, Brutus said that the eye does not see itself except when it is reflected by something else. Question number 4. Who volunteers to be a mirror to reflect the qualities of Brutus to himself, means to Brutus? Why? Cassius volunteers to be a mirror to reflect the qualities of Brutus to himself. Why? Cassius wants to reveal to Brutus his greatness, power, and other qualities. Cassius is a clever manipulator and is trying to win the confidence of Brutus, as the latter is an honorable man. क्योंकि उनको उनकी ज़रूरत है कॉन्स्पिरेंसी में फॉर किलिंग सीजन. Next question, according to Cassius, what do the people in high position in Rome say about Brutus and about the condition of the people? Again, two subparts are there. According to Cassius, many highly placed men in Roman wish that the noble Brutus had his eyes, could see everything, and think out its remedy. The people are groaning underneath the age's yoke. They are suffering under the oppression of the times. The next extract, first question, where are Brutus and Cassius at this time? Which virtue of Brutus is Cassius referring to in the first line? What is Cassius' purpose in this speech? Brutus and Cassius are at a public place in Rome. Brutus loves honor more than he fears death. His loyalty to Rome is his greatest motivation. Cassius refers to this virtue of Brutus. Cassius is a clever manipulator and he speaks of honor as he believes it to be effective in swaying Brutus to his side. He has hatched a conspiracy against Caesar and he wants to win the support of Brutus. Next part, give the meaning of but for my single self I had as life not be as lived to be in awe of such a thing as I myself. Answer, here I refers to Cassius. Personally, Cassius would rather not live at all, as while being alive, he cannot respect himself. He would rather die than live in constant fear of a person who is no better than himself. Third question, give two incidents which Cassius uses later in this discussion to indicate that Caesar is as weak as any human being. Cassius recalls an incident about racing Caesar across River Tiber and rescuing him from drowning. He describes another incident when he had a fever, when he was in Spain, and when the fit was on him. Question number 4, what happens immediately after Cassius' speech? How does it help Cassius to rouse the feelings of Brutus against Caesar? So immediately after Cassius' speech, Cassius and Brutus hear another general shout. Brutus says that these praises are for some new honors that have been given to Caesar. Cassius continues to try to influence Brutus, arguing that it is their own fault, not fate's, if they allow Caesar to triumph as king. They are like petty men, while Caesar stands with one leg on each side of the narrow world like the Colossus of Rhodes. Next question, what stand does Brutus take a few minutes later, which makes Cassius glad that his efforts have not been in vain? Which characteristic trait of Brutus is revealed through the stand he takes? Answer, Brutus replies that he understands what Cassius is getting at and that they will discuss it later. He adds that he would rather be a mere villager than be ruled by a king. Brutus seems conflicted and uncomfortable. He is a slow and deliberate thinker. Next extract is first question, what are the games Brutus is talking about? Who speaks of the games earlier in the scene? Why? During the festival of Lupercal, who was Lupercal? He was the god of fertility. Important young men took part in a holy race through the city. Julius Caesar speaks of the games with Antony and Calpurnia earlier in the scene. Calpurnia is Julius Caesar's wife. Caesar instructed Antony to touch Calpurnia while running the course, means while running the race. For if the barren woman was touched in this holy race, she would be cured of her sterile curse. Explain why Cassius says, after this old fashion, what part did Casca have in the actual murder of Caesar? The word sour means bitter. The games are over and Caesar is returning. Cassius tells Brutus to stop Casca by pulling his sleeve, and Casca will, in his own strange and bitter way, tell Brutus of anything worthy of note that has happened. This shows Casca's prejudice against Caesar. Casca is the first senator to stab Caesar on the specific orders from Cassius. What is the meaning of worthy of note? State briefly what Casca related, bringing out of the fashion. The expression worthy of note means worth noting, referring to the significant incidents that happened that day. Casca explains that Caesar was offered a crown by Antony 3 times. Each time Caesar refused it, but he appeared less reluctant to accept it in each time. Accept it each time. After the third refusal, Caesar swooned. Swoon means he fainted from the falling sickness. He observes that the rebel responded to Caesar as they would to the players in the theater. Question number 5. To whom is Brutus drawing Cassius' attention when he says, "But look you, Cassius, give his comments on each of them"? Brutus draws the attention of Cassius towards Caesar, Calpurnia, and Sisera. Caesar's face looks angry, and all the rest look like a hidden train. Calpurnia's cheek is pale, and Cicero's eyes are as red as has had in the Capitol when opposed in debate by some senators. What information does Casca later give them about Marulus and Flavius? What trait of Caesar's character is shown in this incident? Marulus and Flavius are executed for pulling scarves off Caesar's images. Caesar's tyranny is revealed here. He has all the authority in Rome, and he ruthlessly suppressed the rebellion of Marulus and Flavius. They were killed, they were sentenced to death. Extract 4. When does Cassius speak these words? Whom is he referring to in the second line? What is the purpose of these writings? Cassius speaks these words when Brutus exits and he is alone. Okay, when Cassius is alone. Cassius is referring to Brutus in the second line. Cassius believes that the success of his cause depends on seducing and tricking Brutus. Therefore, these letters will praise Brutus' reputation and hint at Caesar's ambition. What are these writings to be? Where are these writings to be thrown? What effect is produced on this person when he reads it? These writings are to be thrown into Brutus' house through the windows of his house. Brutus interprets the writings to mean that he, like his ancestors who drove out the Tarquin, should act to prevent Rome from falling under the sway of a king. He was to give justice to Rome. Explain the meaning of several hands and obscurely. The expression several hands means in different handwritings. The letters will be written in many different handwritings. The word obscurely means indirectly. In the letters, Caesar's ambition will be hinted at indirectly. What aspect of Cassius' character do the above words illustrate? Means explain. Cassius is a clever manipulator. He is jealous of Caesar and uses available means to reach his desired end. He wants to win the confidence of Brutus and thus does not hesitate to use for uh, forged letters to seduce Brutus. He is not concerned about ethics or morality. Give two methods used by Cassius to win over Brutus. Cassius uses ways such as flattering, making things up, to tell him or to give him the forged letters. He uses reverse psychology to convince Brutus. He incites Brutus under the pretext of honor and freedom. Last extract. First question: when does Casca say this and to whom? Brutus and Cassius talk to Casca when he stays behind. Caesar and his train have left. Cassius asks Casca, what did Cicero say? During this conversation, Casca says this to Brutus and Cassius. Second question: narrate briefly the news that Casca has already related. Casca has already related the news of how Caesar, after the third refusal, swooned from the falling sickness. He observes that the rabble responded to Caesar as they would to players in the theatre. He also says that when Caesar perceived that people were glad when he had refused the crown, he asked to cut his throat. When he recovered from his wound, he said that his words were out of order. The people should, if her words were, if his words were out of order, the people should think it was his weakness. Explain pulling scarves off Caesar's images and put to silence. The expression pulling scarves off Caesar's images mean removing ornamental scarves from Caesar's statues. Flavius and Marulus had removed decorations from Caesar's statues. This robbed the images. The expression put to silence means executed. Marulus and Flavius were sentenced to death as they had rebelled against Caesar. What does put to silence reveal about Caesar's character? The expression put to silence suggests the ruthlessness of Caesar. In order to curb the rebellious tribunes, Caesar ordered their execution. He has become a tyrant, cold and merciless. What reason for their action does Flavius give in the opening scene of the play? How are Flavius and Marulus punished for their act? Answer: according to Flavius, if they suppress the growing popularity of Caesar, he would behave like an ordinary man, just as if they pluck out feathers from wings of a bird. It will not be able to fly high. In the subpart, how were Flavius and Marulus punished for the act? They were killed. They were sentenced to death. That's all for this session. Thank you for watching.